Hello, everyone. Hello, kids. Today we're going to be talking about voter suppression. We've seen in recent weeks the lines that have been in communities of color and how far and how long the lines are. I have someone who is near and dear to me who does this work every single day, whether we're looking or not, and she is fantastic. A good sister friend of mine is going to join this conversation. And if y'all want to debate me after that about voter suppression and its impact on Black folks, we can talk about that. But the guest today that we have is none other than a co-founder of Black Voters Matter. It is not letting me click on here. It is now. And her name is LaTosha Brown. Let's bring her in. Let us see. Hi, sis. How you doing? I'm good. It is so good to see you. You are?
I am. I just got off the road from Kentucky. I just walked in the house.
You did? And you made time for us?
Absolutely. If anything you ask me to do, I'm going to do, sister.
Oh, I know that.
I love your hair, by the way. I just want you to know I love your hair. You look so cute.
Thank you, girl. I did a recorded thing earlier, and it was like still wet. You know, you just miscalculate the time, and I was just like, it's gonna be swole up later. So right now I'm just enjoying it because once I put it in that bun stay about 3 days.
That's right.
But I'm so happy.
Froze up.
Me and Lennar were in the middle of a sibling rivalry pre-debate, and I'm about to put this on airplane mode. Maybe that'll help. But the thing that I really want people to understand about you and your work is like every day we have a sister girl text thread. And every time there's an election, we can count on you, LaTosha, to be there for our folks, to make sure that people are not only prepared to vote, they're equipped to vote, but you're also telling stories. I want to hear about what you saw in Kentucky yesterday, in Louisville.
So, it's interesting because I know people, folks who may or may not know, there was the primary that was in Kentucky on yesterday. And it was interesting because the race, what was the hottest race was Amy DeGraff, who is kind of the Democratic establishment candidate, and this brother Charles Booker, who is in the state house, but came out of nowhere. He didn't have the resource, he didn't have the establishment, But what has actually happened is the Breonna Taylor case that actually happened in Kentucky. People are really fired up. So even when we talk to Black folks, they were fired up. So in one of what the Secretary of State. And the Secretary of State is actually a Republican, and the governor is a Democrat. Both of them together decided to do this consolidation of polling sites. And so there was 3,700 polling sites normally. So on yesterday, it got reduced to 270. What was ironic, though, is one of the places, Louisville, where we were, it's 616,000 voters, almost 616,000 voters for one polling site.
That's insane.
Which was insane. What's interesting is that the Secretary of State is going around today tweeting like a victory lap, as if there was no, they did it well in XYZ. Well, let me tell y'all what we saw and heard directly from the ground.
That's what I want to hear. Tell us the real.
Yeah, so the real is, while in the execution of what they planned in terms of the actual voting, it wasn't bad. It was nowhere near like Georgia, quite frankly. Yeah. There were lines, but there was nowhere near. It wasn't bad. It went seamless in some ways. But that's in light of all the other voter suppression that went on. So, for example, earlier that morning when we first arrived, there was a brother that came up, a brother named Mustafa, who came up to the Urban League to try to figure out if there was anything that we could do, because that was a staging site, to help him be able to vote. He had a letter, which I can actually share with you all. He got a letter directly from the Secretary of State off the Board of Elections saying that he couldn't vote in this election cycle because he had voted Republican. He was like, I've never voted Republican before. The interesting thing is he got the letter on yesterday, which was election day, right? So he was barred from participating in the Democratic primary. He's always voted Democratic. He's not voted Republican. And they're telling him, so even to get that straight, where there was a line is where you had people who had problems. That's where the line was. Right.
Yeah.
And so another thing that, well, on and on, what we didn't really see going on is like the enormous amount of time and energy, even for folks to get out to the fairgrounds. If anybody has a fairground area where they live, you know that it's usually out. Right. And so it wasn't close to where people live. And so you could take the bus, but it was just all, we saw people that were in line that had been sisters who had their babies, had their kids with them. And so there were all of these. You know, the challenge with voter suppression is that it's a spectrum of it. It's just like kind of layered on and on and on. One of the most profound pieces that I want to say around is that when they close the site. So the doors close at 6 o'clock. You would have to know at the fairgrounds, it's huge. It's a big fairground. And so the traffic was backed up. It took people a minute to get in. They closed the site at 6 o'clock, which is, no, I mean, nobody closes voting at 6 o'clock. That's really early. If you get off at 5, how does that give you time? It closed at 6 o'clock. And so people were in line waiting. They were out in the parking lot. And so they were walking up. As you had hundreds of people headed in to vote, they locked the doors.
I saw
on
that.
The dock.
And people were pounding on the doors.
People were not having it, Angela. Folks were not having it. People were pounding. We've got videos of folks pounding. It was like, y'all gonna let us in. About 5 minutes later, what happened is Charles Booker, who was a candidate that's running for Congress, had filed a motion to get an injunction to extend it to at least 6:30. I mean, but let's say before we get to that, if you see hundreds of people walking up to vote, why the hell would you close the doors? Why would you lock the doors?
Crazy.
Right? It's just crazy. And so, I mean, hundreds of people, at least 200 people.
And it looked like a lot of black faces.
It was a lot of black faces, but I'm
so maybe that's why.
Listen, the white folk wasn't even having it on yesterday, though. They were about to uprise out there, but it was a majority. It was black faces. You know what's interesting? What folks don't know about Louisville is 50% of the black population for the entire state of Kentucky are in that one county. That's where they are. And right, so when you knock out the votes in Louisville, you knock out possibly some of the black candidates and the support you get from the black candidates. Wow. The other thing that I saw, so, and then people kind of rushed in after that, but the idea that, I mean, dog, we got to fight for everything. The idea that you got people that you know have come to vote, you see them walking up, they're standing outside, and you lock the doors just on GP, insane. Right? It's insane. And you got to get a court order just for them to unlock the doors.
Yeah,
you know, it's designed for us not to be, for it to be hard. There's also another issue around the signature. So what the Board of Elections sent out is you had to sign the inside of the ballot. If you got a mail-in ballot, a lot of people said that they applied for ballots and did not receive the ballots.
Wow.
Two, so I can go through several issues. So the first issue that I raised was that there were folks that we met who were not able to vote in the primary because some way they had them listed at voting as Republican before. Right? Folks who claim that they were like, well, I have not voted Republican. So let's say that. And they get the letter the day of the election.
Insane.
Right? So how you going to fix that? Right? Or stay in line for hours to fix that? So and we don't have that kind of time. A lot of our people don't have that kind of time.
Yeah.
Secondly, we saw issues around, we're concerned about issues around exact match, around the signature match. So when you got an absentee ballot, you have to sign the outside of the envelope and the inside. Mm-hmm. They already said that if you don't sign both signatures, they're going to throw it out.
That's
and it's supposed to match what your card is, like whatever your registration card. So you got people indiscriminately making a decision whether your vote is going to count or not. Just let that sink in for a minute, right?
Yeah, no, and I know, like in Washington State, where I'm from, we have mail-in ballots. When I've signed my own name on the ballot and on the outside of the envelope, and they've said that the signature doesn't match. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Right. Because somebody wants to steal my vote and write my signature.
I mean, really? It's insane. It's insane.
It is insane.
So one of the things, though, LaTosha, that I was particularly inspired by, you sent us a video of this young woman who talked about her 17-year-old who was like, if I can't vote, but I would if I could, go do this for me, and how inspired and moved she was by that. Talk about how much you've seen, whether it's the older inspiring the younger, or the younger who are not yet eligible to vote, inspiring their parents and their elders to go and do something on their behalf.
You know, I saw two things. I heard so many stories. The story that was really powerful, though, there were a lot of older folks that young people were pushing them. And I've worked elections for over 25 years. I've never seen this level of where there were older. Matter of fact, there was a grandmother that I talked to. She was like, my baby told me I had to go vote. I didn't even feel like voting today because my arthritis was cutting up. I was like, I hear your mama, right? But she was like, my baby said I had to vote. So there's something around young people being able to move. And then in this video, this sister said she doesn't vote. She's like, I don't even, like, that ain't what I do. She said her love, which I loved, she called her partner her love. She was like, her love called her, who lives in New York, was like, you got to vote. But her 17-year-old daughter was like, Ma, you're going to have to vote. You need to vote for me. And then she brought about Breonna Taylor and those things happening, right? And she was like, I had to. And then she talked, part of the reason how we stopped is she saw the bus, because we got the blackest bus in America.
I love that bus.
You got to come get on the bus, Angela. You got to come get on the bus.
You know I've been on the bus?
I know. I'm saying you got to come back, get on the bus.
Oh, you want me to go and ride on the bus?
Yeah, you got to come ride on the bus.
Okay,
right.
Okay.
And spread some black love and joy around here.
I will. I will if you sing to me before we leave, then I'll do it.
Absolutely. That's a done deal then. That's a done deal.
Okay.
So the sister, so she was really excited about, I think one of the things that was powerful for us were that people felt a sense of power. A lot of times, like when we're talking about voting, we're trying to beat people over the head and tell them, you know, if you don't vote, you don't count. I can't stand when people say that. Stop telling folks that. Yeah. Don't tell anybody anymore that if you don't vote, you don't count. I count because God created me. I am part of creation. I got value. Whether I participate in this system or not, that's where my value is.
Yes.
To the extent I participate in this system, it's me demonstrating my agency. Because for me, if anybody gonna make a decision about LaTosha Brown, I need to be a part of that decision making process, right? And so for us, we shift the focus. We're not trying to convince people to believe in the system, particularly a system what we know we're discriminated against, a system that we're not fairly treated in. But what I will say is, when we are at war, we have to use every single tool available for us to reduce the harm and back people up off of us.
Yeah.
And so we've got to see voting and expanded. We don't think it's an end all or a be all. But yesterday, I can't even tell you, Angela, how many folks walked up to us to say, because we would tell people, we were like, we came around, we wanted to let y'all know y'all ain't by yourself. We drove all the way, all early this morning from last night to let y'all know we love you, and we care about you, and we fighting with you. Like literally, there were people that cried, that we would walk up to that literally cried. When we said, it was like, y'all came to see about us. It was like, y'all our people. And so ultimately, there's some power in like human connection and affirming us, because even sometimes in our talking to each other, we reinforce these negative ideas. Yeah. Like we'll keep saying, well, black folks don't do this and black folks don't do this. Like at the end of the day, speak life into me.
Yes.
Stop keep telling me what I'm doing wrong when you know fundamentally this system isn't fair. So when people come up to us and say, I don't want to vote because I don't think that it makes a difference, we don't argue with them. We were like, we understand exactly why you feel that way. And we listen, right? Yeah. And then we literally try to make the connection around why it's important. But we heard, you know, the other thing that was beautiful to see yesterday, I'll be honest, I am so inspired by what we saw in Kentucky. Like black folks were focused. There were black folks who were walking in. That happened in Georgia too, even though Georgia was a disaster. Black people walking in with sandwiches. You know how your grandma fix your sandwiches. They were walking in with sandwiches. They were like, oh, I'm gonna vote today. Like they were like very focused. Like I'm going to vote today. And so it was interesting what I felt in Kentucky. On one hand, I was super, super inspired by black people, just commitment, and Breonna Taylor, like their commitment of we need some change. The sad part is, why we gotta fight for every damn thing?
Everything, LaTosha. And that's the question that I was gonna ask you. Like, could part of the tears just be like a sign of relief to be seen. Like, okay, I'm seeing we are like right here, because right now, you know, we can't appreciate the victory of like, we can't take like a legislative lap right now. We can't take, even though there have been, you know, strides both on the micro and the macro level, at the state level, at the municipal level, with what's happening with police budgets. And then there's legislation that's been introduced in the House and Senate. Can't take that lap yet because the bill hasn't passed. And it's not everything that people need, even though it is, you know, moving things in the right direction. Not only that, but you're literally in Louisville, where Breonna Taylor's killers are still on the streets. So they said, well, they said that, well, now one officer has been fired, but still walking on the street. The letter that the investigator of the case sent still gives the man authority to argue his case in 10 days.
That's right.
You know, it's like, what are you what are you even talking about? We just had this whole kind of uprising nationally, demonstrating that we matter, you see us. Finally, Black Lives Matter isn't an argument, at least not to most, except for to dumb people like Rudy Giuliani. But like to everybody else, they get it. You know what I mean? For the first time. But we're still having to argue this. And then people are just now hearing about Elijah McClain in Colorado. This, you know what I mean? It's just like, it doesn't end. We don't get a break.
We don't. It's almost like
a break.
There's no room for error. What I will say, and I always say this, is I do believe this is our moment, though.
Yeah.
We have to have a radical reimagining. The problem is, it's almost like if I'm a size 10, I'm trying to make a size 3 work. It don't work.
Yeah.
It don't fit. And so ultimately, we're trying to make something fit that wasn't designed for us to fit. The bottom line is we've got to reimagine every system in this country.
Yes.
Every system, if we ought to have any form of liberation, we have to reimagine every. And you know, it's interesting. Like I talk to people and they'll say, I'll tell you even my own experience. I went to the Olympics. I usually go to the Olympics. I went to the Olympics in London some years ago. And I was, and here I think of myself fairly well read. But I'm at the Olympics and there's this drunk dude. And while he's sitting there, they call the police over and he is just absolutely obnoxious. And I'm sitting there nervous and tense because I'm just waiting for the police to beat him up, right? Because he's talking mad trash, right? I'm like, oh, Lord, will he be quiet? And I didn't realize, but none of the people around me seemed worried. And then the police, as they were engaging him, they were like very accommodating, very patient, like, okay. And then ultimately, they finally calmed her down after a while, and they leaned over, and I realized they didn't have guns on them. And they were like, "We're gonna take you home." And I'm looking like, what just happened? And one of the guys next to me, he was like, "You know, they have special units. The police don't carry guns." I was like, "What you mean?" I was like the police don't have guns on them? They was like, "No, they call special units with guns on them that have guns." I was like, "Oh, I mean, like, what do you mean? Like the police getting ready to take him home, not to jail?" I'm saying that because I realize I've been so conditioned to think of policing in a particular kind of way that it was like, I was sitting there scared with everybody else's whatever, but didn't even recognize that they were real police officers because they didn't have guns on them, right? My point is we have to reimagine. We don't need law enforcement. What we need, what I want to see, is I want to see an agency that literally is in the business of protecting, promoting safety and peace. How about you do that? Right. Instead of the fundamental, because it's like somebody asked me, they were like, how can we, a reporter the other day was asking me, was like, what do we need to do to reform the police department? I said, asking me like that is, let me ask you this question. How do we make an equitable and just slave plantation? And she said, I don't understand. I said, I'm asking, right? It is actually impossible because the very nature of the institution itself grew out of oppression. So can you make an equitable slave plantation? No, you can't, because there's no such thing. So at the end of the day, you're asking me how to reform an agency that was set up as a it's set up out of evolving from slave patrols. The policing in this country were an evolution of slave patrols. It was designed to control Black people. Right. And it's still been used as a force against us. And so I'm saying that that we also got to we got to get outside our minds and really think. Like I always tell people, I'm a Black futurist. Like I'm doing what I need to do now, but I'm a Black futurist. I'm thinking about what are the systems that I need instead of keep trying to respond and fix this broken car that you know is on its last legs. Right? It ain't.
First
Have
of
you
all,
ever had one of them cars?
LaTosha, I need to know if Alicia got Black Futurist shirts. If not, we got to get her to do one for Black Futurist Lab, a Black Futurist shirt. That is
right.
dope. That's right. Dope.
That's
those are bars. But you know what I love about that is, you know, LaTosha, freedom requires of us to be able to think, as you like you said, reimagine, but without even the just imagine an existence that is not here to oppress us, where we have to lessen that oppression. Like that's basically what you're saying. I don't want to reform a system to lessen my oppression. I want to create an existence where oppression is not on the spectrum.
Absolutely.
That is amazing.
Absolutely. Let me tell you why I say reimagine. I'm going to say, because I agree with you, is imagine, but I also need, it was almost like the example that I shared about in England. Yeah. What we see is so common to us that we will create the same, we will recreate the very oppression. We think that if we just blacken it up a little bit, it's going to make it a little bit better. If I can just tweak it here and there, I'll keep the same system.
But that works. It does make it a little better. What I hear you saying is that's not sufficient.
That's not sufficient.
That's it. And that is a thing where if part of it requires, because I really believe we carry like the oppression of slavery in our DNA. It requires us to reset genetically what is acceptable to us. That's right. You know what I mean? Like it really does. It's, man, girl, that's a whole sermon.
No, it is like, and it requires us to unravel. If you are like, I hear people was like, we're never going to end the police. We can't end the police. You're the same person that thought the slavery wasn't going to never end. Like a couple of 100 years ago, you were the same person on the plantation talking about, oh, we ain't gonna never not be no slaves. But there was somebody on that plantation.
Yes.
That like literally in the midst of their oppression, in the midst of being enslaved, said, I don't care what y'all say, my people one day, my children gonna be free. We gonna be free. And those were the visionaries. So when I hear people, and that's why I hate folks, I hate when I hear people say, this ain't your grandmother's movement. I was like, you sure ain't. Because at the end of the day, there were our grandmothers and our grandparents that dealt with a whole different level of oppression and still resisted. Yes. We sitting here in comfort and scared to resist. Yes. Many of us, right? Not everybody, but many of us. My point, though, is I usually ask people, even if the people that are watching this now, I want to ask folks just to close your eyes for a second. Imagine America without racism. Now open your eyes. Now, I know I can't hear from all because there's 700 folks on here, right? But most folks, if we're honest, we can't even imagine it. We can't even imagine it. And so my point is, how are we going to get to a point or a place that we have a nation without racism and we can't even see it? What has ever been created that has not been envisioned first? Because we're part of what racism has us doing is responding so much that we're not taking time to imagine and to envision. So at some point, you and I are on this right now because there was some slave somewhere that envisioned that me and you were going to be free. That's the truth of the matter. There was somebody.
You always do this to me. You always do.
Like, I can't believe it.
No, but that's so good, LaTosha, because that's the point. It's like we owe it to them. And we owe it to the future that you're talking about with the Black futurists to imagine something better than modifying what is because what isn't good enough. That is so powerful. Yes. And I'm sitting here crying because the part about imagining, there was a part of me that just felt afraid to. Like, is it safe to? Do you know what I mean? And that's the part in us that's like, that we have to really take the shackles off. Like it is okay to move beyond your comfort zone and push towards something that actually would result in our greater comfort and our greater total good. It's not good enough that, as you said, some of us are sitting comfortably, But if everybody can't sit comfortably and really be free, really be truly liberated, we haven't done our job. We failed the people.
Absolutely. And I think it's almost like
mess me up.
Sharecropping was better than slavery.
Yeah.
But it was sharecropping.
Yes.
Right. So my point is each generation should be advancing the ball. You like even in our comfort, are we advancing the ball? Or are we just like, we just gonna get paid and we just gonna enjoy our comfort? Like to the extent that we do have that we have been blessed by all the sacrifices of folks made before us, how are we gonna advance the ball? We gotta move the ball. Every single system in this country has been shaped by racism and anti-Black racism. I can go from the healthcare industry. I can go right now. America has the resources. It should have the best healthcare industry in the world.
Yeah,
there's no reason.
Yeah,
it doesn't really because of racism. That fundamentally you cannot create a system that is a world-class system when you try so hard to prevent people from being a part of it. It has impacted the entire system. It has undermined the entire system. So even when white folks are supporting racism, and we got to stop acting like that racism, it has a particular brunt on us, right? But their complicitness in there is actually ain't helping them either.
That's right. That's
when I'm looking at rural hospitals in Alabama and Mississippi that closed down, y'all ain't got no hospitals either, right? But you've been so busy focused on that you've allowed somebody to racialize this policy that you work against your own interests. So a few people at the top. And so we've got to have an expanded conversation. But this is what I'm going to say the good news is. The good news is that if Black folk ain't nothing else, baby, we creative, right?
Yes.
And so instead of being creative just in these industries that exploit our gifts, I ain't got nothing wrong with it because I'm a singer. I love arts, all of that, right? But we also can be really creative around reimagining these systems. Like I was talking to one example to me is around technology. Technology, I was thinking to myself, so if the technology exists now that you can increase production, right? Why are we still working 40 hours a week? Like why? Like if the productivity has gone up with technology, then shouldn't some of the benefits from this creation of technology go to the workers? No, we still working harder.
Yeah.
And those at the top are making more money.
Yeah.
Like Bezos, what, about to be a trillionaire?
Yeah.
Like I'm raising this as a critical. Why could we not just follow me out? Why could we not reimagine a system that we're working 15 hours a week and we all getting paid? You getting the same salary, a decent salary. We're working half the time so that we're spending more time with our families, with our children, with our elders. Yes. What would that society look like? Like this whole, what's the magic in working 40 to 60 hours a week?
I don't know, but I'd be tired.
We've normalized this notion that on most folks, you get 2 weeks vacation out of a year. Like, think about that. I got 52. I only got 2 weeks, and I got to give you all my time. And I'm grateful because you're doing me a favor. Yeah. You give me 2 weeks of paid vacation, and we've accepted that as if that's normal. So our entire lives are literally about the productivity of creating wealth for a system that is funding and subsidizing our murder. That system that is subsidizing our oppression. So we got to rethink this whole thing. Like we got to stop creating and feeding the beast that eats us up.
Woo! That is powerful. I know that you just got home and I had 30 minutes, but this has been a revolutionary 30 minutes. And I'm so grateful for you. Y'all, she shows up like this on FaceTime calls, on Zoom calls, in our text messages. Like, this is like my big sister. Like, love LaTosha and love the work you're doing. We didn't talk as much. If you would just give me 30 seconds on what Black Voters Matter does. I want people to know and how to support you, whether it's volunteering or donating. Like, you all are doing some incredible work. She does not believe that Black political power is just in the vote. She knows it's the first step. And you can hear in everything she says, she's trying to revolutionize us and get us to reset. So LaTosha, talk to us a little bit about Black Voters Matter and how we can support.
The quick version, and you all should check us out on our website, but Black Voters Matter is a power building organization. We believe not in empire building. That's why we don't have like little Black Voters Matter chapters everywhere. We're not interested in that. Our goal is to be almost like special ops, that what we do is to build the capacity of Black grassroots groups on how they see power. And so we're working currently in 12 states. We fund them. We actually invest in them. Last year, we invested over $1 million in Black grassroots groups in 7 states in the South, almost 200 groups. This year, we're probably even double that. We actually go, we provide resources, technical support. We lift them up in terms of narrative. So y'all come on, be down with us. You can volunteer. We got some other stuff, some really cool stuff. And we got the blackest bus in America. So Google the blackest bus in America and you'll find it because we fly like that.
Okay, give them the handle. Give them the Instagram handle.
It's Black Voters MTR. So follow us, Black Voters MTR. Make sure y'all follow us. You can also keep up with what we're doing by texting We Matter to We Matter MATTER to 797979. We Matter to 797979.
Thank you, sis. Are you got now? You done already dragged us through a meditation and made me cry. You have some closing lyrics.
I have closing. Well, the first thing I did right was the day I started to fight. Keep your eyes on the prize and hold on, hold on. Hold on, y'all. When we work together, we win. And Angela, I so love you, and I just love this look and all this beauty you got going on, sister.
Thank you so much, sis. I love you. I am so grateful for you, and I'm inspired by you, sis. We are here for you. We're going to hold you down.
Thank you, sister.
Love you.
All right. Talk to you later. Bye. Love you.
Love you. Woo! You guys, every time I'm with LaTosha, I get my entire life and some marching orders. She spent all that time in Kentucky yesterday making sure that our voters were taken care of, that they were not suppressed, that they were not oppressed. And we're just so grateful for the work LaTosha does. I don't have anything left. My heart and spirit is full. I'm happy to stick around here and answer some questions. LaTosha had to head out, but I am happy to stick around here for just a couple minutes. I need to go get some water, though, because I really did cry, y'all. And then I had makeup on from an interview I had to do earlier. That thing went down in my eye, like, you know. So I don't see any questions. So I'm going to run. We're going to do sibling rivalry later. It's going to be at 4:30 because I have, or 7:30 Eastern, because I have a call that is going to be at the same time and I couldn't move it. So we're going to start sibling rivalry about 30 minutes late for those of you who want to join us. 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern. Thank y'all. I love LaTosha. Remember, maybe we can all do this to close our eyes every night before we go to bed and imagine America without racism. Shout out to LaTosha Brown and Black Voters Matter. Please make sure you support my girl and all the work they're doing with the blackest bus in America. Okay? See y'all.